before us.
Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim. God in peace, and raise me up to a world of living, oh, safe from the storm, in the shelter of your shalom. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim. And know all of your ways and wisdom, oh, you would keep me safe, and I'd always praise your name. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim.
we will join in singing this beautiful piyut, this liturgical poem. O God of awesome deeds, God of awesome deeds, grant us pardon as the gates begin to close.
המצר קראתיה ענני ומרחביה מן המצר קראתיה ענני ומרחביה עודך כי אני תעני ותהי לי לישועה עודך כי אני תעני ותהי לי ותהי לי לישועה. המצר קראתיה ענני ומרחביה מן המצר קראתיה ענני ומרחביה עודך כי עניתני ותהי לי לישועה עודך כי עניתני ותהי לי לישועה Answer me, Aneni, Aneni, Aneni. Answer me, Aneni, Aneni, Aneni. Answer me, Aneni, Aneni, Aneni. I called out to you from a narrow place. Your answer came to me from a wide open space. My heart cried out for you wherever you are. Your hand reached out to me, min hametzar. Aneni, Aneni, Aneni. Answer me, 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 Aneni, Aneni, Aneni.
Many centuries ago, in a mountain village in Europe, a nobleman who loved his people wanted to leave them a legacy, something that would endure. So he decided to build a synagogue, a grand and beautiful one with high ceilings and carved wood. Every detail was done with love. When the townspeople entered for the first time, they marveled at its beauty, but were confused. It was dark. A brave soul asked the nobleman, "But where are the lamps? How will it be lighted?" And the nobleman handed her a lamp, and another to every single townsperson, saying, "This sanctuary must be lit by each one of you." The nobleman understood a truth about any enduring legacy, that even the most beautiful sanctuary, like ours, is only as powerful as the light that the community brings to it. During this pandemic, our sanctuary could have gone dark, but you shared your light in so many ways, and you do so again by being here with us tonight. This Kol Nidre evening, I will invite you to literally light your lamp. If you're a member of Central, we invite you to light your portable ark or to find your Yizkor candle from your box, which will soon be lit by Stephen Tishman. I invite our extended Central community to go and get your Yizkor candle, your festival candles, and have them ready. And tonight, on this holiest day of the year, I invite you not only to kindle these special lights of the holiday with us, but perhaps to turn off any other lights that are in your room. Allow the light of your candles, your ark, your screen even, to be the lamp for your Kol Nidre sanctuary, and let the rest of your surroundings fade away so that the room that you are in can become a sanctuary anywhere. Perhaps you'll imagine that you're sitting here in our beautiful sanctuary. Or perhaps you'll be transported to the home synagogue of your childhood. Or perhaps tonight you can sit with your ancestors in some shtibel or shul in a faraway place and bring light to a community that no longer exists. Because when we hear the ancient strains of the Kol Nidre prayer, a melody that is echoed through the generations, we are in timeless time and in spaceless space. So I invite you to set the mood. This Kol Nidre service will be as meaningful as what you bring to it. So kindle your lamp and bring your light into our sanctuary. We begin together on page 86. Like no other prayer, Kol Nidre compels our presence, and not just us alone, but the memorized outline, too, of younger years. The gentle feel of those who tucked us in, who blessed our days, consoled our nights, and came as we do on this eve with memories of their own. We tonight are memories in the making, warming seats for others who will remember us in some Kol Nidre they shall hear when we are gone.
Present too among us are memories more recent of what we did or said or were or weren't since last year at this time, of what we learned or lost, of kisses that we gave or got, the laugh that lovers recognize, the days of empty wandering and wondering where God was, of knowing with compelling certainty that God was with us, even in despair.
Kol Nidre harbors memory of all of this. Its melody persists, insists, commands, and summons our acknowledgement of time, what we recall of others past, and what we vow to leave behind for others still to come who will remember us. We kindle this memorial light for those we loved and those we lost, For all we missed from the year now gone, let us prepare for Kol Nidre, our song of memory.
Our deep gratitude to you, Julian, our own member, Julian Schwartz, who brings his immense gifts and talents and passion to us with that beautiful prayer. Thank you. And now we are ready to bring in the lights of this festival. From home, we invite leaders from our central organizing leadership team, Sherry King, Michelle Mandelstein, Mari Hinojosa, Emily Steinman, Amy Glickman, and here in our sanctuary, our president, Jeremy Fielding, to light the candles of the festival. We join together on page 87.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, shel yom hakippurim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגענו לזמן הזה.
I already feel the sanctuary filled up with so many lights from our community, our leaders who lit the candles, this beautiful light that came from the bruch that Julian brought us. On the cello, I also see some of our amazing congregants, Jews in the pews, and I'm seeing, let's see, I got the whole Mandelbaum family on the couch. This is awesome. And I love seeing Tali and Boaz have their daughter there with them, and Nino and Carla, you're looking great. I'm just flipping through, and you all look beautiful. It's very nice to see that you're here. Each one of you, just seeing your faces. Hello, Debbie. Thanks for waving. Each one of you brings your light, and we know that you are representing the many other members of our community that are out there and with us as well. So thank you for joining us tonight. You look beautiful. And I have to say, having our Rabbi Emeritus Peter Rubenstein here with us, hearing your voice always makes it feel like the holiday. So it is a blessing to have you with us tonight, as you were with us for second day. We will now turn to our call to worship on page 88. I invite everyone to please rise. Traditionally, when we sing the Shema, we sing the first line in a very full voice, and we whisper the second line of the Shema. And Cantor Mutlu, who really took the lead in putting this incredibly beautiful machzor together, you will see that he made sure that in almost all the times we say the Shema, the first line is written in very big font, but the second line is written in very small font to represent that change. But I notice on this next Shema, on the next page, 90 and 91, the font size is the same as Cantor Mutlu. Is that a mistake?
No mistake. That's because Kol Nidre is the one night of the year that we get to sing this line out loud.
Oh, very interesting. Can you let us know why?
Well, there is an explanation on the bottom of page 92.
Oops,
in
I
the
missed
notes.
that.
That's
Okay, I'll look for that.
And there's this other explanation in the Talmud that says that Moses, when he was on Mount Sinai, actually heard the angels saying this line, shouting this line, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, blessed is God's glorious reign. And now, most of the time, we don't dare to utter the things that the angels might say, but on Yom Kippur and Kol Nidre, it's almost as if this service, we are spiritually elevated to the height of the angels.
Wow. Well, I know that I already feel elevated from hearing the first Kol Nidre, and when we hear you sing it, we will be at that transcendent level. So let us represent the incredibly holy experience of this day and be like God's angels and sing the Shema, both lines, in full voice.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod
I felt that. Page 92, I invite you to please be seated and join in reading with me in the English. You shall love your eternal God with all your mind, with all your strength, and with all your being. Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be a symbol before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them. So shall you consecrate yourselves to your God. I am your eternal God, who led you out of Egypt to be your God. I am your eternal God. This next prayer, we say it every service, but we are reminded that redemption is possible, and may we feel it again tonight.
Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, malechutecha ra'u banecha, בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, סלי הנו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. כיפדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, ברוך שמו גל ישראל.
Many of you shared that our communal singing of the Hashkivenu prayer was one of your favorite moments of Erev Rosh Hashanah. I'm not surprised. We take one of our congregation's favorite songs and then show the faces of all ages of our congregation singing it together. And so in case you missed it last week, or just if you'd like to see it again, even if you're not in the video, we hope you will add your voice to this prayer of peace. We join together on 94.
We continue on page 95. Tonight, we face our nakedness, mirrored contemplations of concealed selves laid bare of artifice, backdrop to a cavernous silence broken only by the quiet chant of Kol Nidre. This is the time when consciousness colludes with conscience to shatter the delusions with which we cloak our souls. Tonight, God asks us where and what we are.
We creatures fashioned in God's goodness are capable of cruelty. We vessels of God's holiness litter others' lives with profanities of speech and deed and will. The nakedness of Kol Nidre's call can pierce our metal, unsettling us with echoes of the chaos that we have caused, the brokenness of loved ones at whose lives we chipped away.
Give us pause to recognize how every year we choose again to grow more worn and withered, dry inside, or stronger, older, far more resolute, awake to what should matter most. Which shall it be? Kol Nidre sounds especially pure to souls who have lost their way or find themselves enmeshed in webs of hopelessness. God, disentangle us, we pray. Where we have sinned, remove the shame of self and make us worthy of Kol Nidre's melody. Please rise.
יגיד תהילתך, אדוני, שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך, אדוני, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך. אדוני, שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך. אדוני, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך. ברוך אתה, אדוני, אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים, למענך, למענך, למענך אלוהים חיים, למענך, למענך, למענך אלוהים חיים. Remember us unto life, O God of all, who delights in life. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה.
Adonai, our God, is merciful and gracious, endlessly patient, loving and true, showing mercy to thousands, forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin, and granting pardon.
Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim v'Rav Chesed v'Emet, Notzer Chesed la'alafim, Nosei avon v'fesha v'chata v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim v'Rav Chesed v'Emet, Notzer Chesed la'alafim, Nosei avon v'fesha v'chata v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim v'Rav Chesed v'Emet, Notzer Chesed la'alafim, Nosei avon v'fesha v'chata v'nakeh.
We continue at the bottom of page 98. Our God, God of our mothers and fathers, grant that our prayers may reach you. Do not be deaf to our pleas, for we are not so arrogant and stiff-necked as to say before you, our God and God of all ages, we are perfect and have not sinned. Rather, do we confess, we have gone astray, we have sinned, we have transgressed.
Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, tavu lefanecha tefilateinu, ve'aleti talam mitchinatenu, she'en anachnu azefanim ukshei oref, loma lefanecha, Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, tzadikim anachnu ve'lo chatanu.
We continue at the top of page 99. Please join me. We abuse, we betray, we are cruel, we destroy, we embitter, we falsify, we gossip, we hate. We insult, we jeer, we kill, we lie, we mock.
We
neglect, we oppress, we pervert, we quarrel. We rebel, we steal, we transgress, we are unkind.
We are violent, we are wicked, and we are extremists.
We yearn to do evil, we are zealous for bad causes.
For all these sins, O God of mercy, forgive us, pardon us,
grant us atonement.
Kabel
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בנטיית גרון.
For the sins we have committed against you through arrogance and selfishness.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בהונאת רעך.
For the sins we have committed against you by defrauding others.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בכחש ובכזב.
For the sins we have committed against you through denial and deceit.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך במאכל ובמשתה.
For the sins we have committed against you through greed and overindulgence.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך באימוץ הלב.
For the sins we have committed against you through hardening our hearts.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בחנופה.
For the sins we have committed against you through hypocrisy.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בצרות עין.
For the sins we have committed against you by narrow-mindedness.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בגילוי עריות.
For the sins we have committed against you through sex and love.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בווידוי פה.
For the sins we have committed against you through empty confession. For all these sins, O God of mercy, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement. Please be seated. Please join me at the top of page 101. Hear our voice, Adonai our God. Be kind, sympathize with us. Willingly and lovingly accept our prayer. Turn us toward you, Adonai, and we will return to you. Make our days seem fresh as they once were. Do not cast us away from you. Do not take your holy presence from us. Do not cast us away as we grow old. Do not desert us as our life ends. Do not abandon us, Adonai our God. Do not distance yourself from us.
Give
us hope, be our help and comfort. Hear our words, Adonai, and consider our innermost thoughts. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Before we enter into silent prayer, we offer a special prayer for our country.
Our God and God of our forebears, we ask your blessing for our country, for its government, for its leaders, advisors, judges, and all who exercise just and rightful authority. Teach them insights from your Torah, that they may administer all affairs of state fairly, that peace and security, happiness and prosperity, justice and freedom may forever abide in our midst. Creator of all flesh, bless all the inhabitants of our country with your spirit. May citizens of all races and creeds forge a common bond in true harmony to banish hatred and bigotry, and to safeguard the ideals and free institutions that are the pride and glory of our country. May this land under your providence be an influence for good throughout the world, promoting among all nations and people peace and freedom, helping them to fulfill the vision of your prophet. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they experience war anymore. And let us say, Amen. Amen.
Oh God, please hear her prayer. Please hear her voice as we ask you to hear our voices tonight. Shema kolenu Adonai Eloheinu verachem aleinu chus verachem aleinu מקבל ברחמים וברצון, מקבל ברחמים וברצון. ברחמים וברצון את השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה חדש ימינו
We continue in silence. continue on page 103. The accident of mortality makes life an interim of expulsion as quickened dust and ashes, bookended by eternities. We were thrust at birth onto a stage as actors unprepared for roles we never sought to have. With every day's performance, we edge closer to the final bow.
But we Jews are well practiced in the art of exile, how to be at peace wherever we may be, secured by goodness, love, and learning, gratitude and dignity, empathy for suffering, integrity, and kindness, these the bricks and mortar of authentic Jewish coming home. Return to these Kol Nidre charges before lights go out and stage is darkened.
Tonight, the world of things, events, and expectations retreats from consciousness, that we may honestly confront what we have been, where we have gone, what we are worth, if we have failed. We pray that at this time tomorrow night, when Ark doors open for Ne'ilah, our final service of these days of awe, we may reclaim the promise we once knew we had. Tonight, at home with God and with one another, we pause for clarity of purpose en route to that rebirth. When the cantor sings the Kol Nidre, he is carrying the prayers of our entire congregation on his shoulders. I know that when I used to stand in that spot, I felt the enormous responsibility and privilege of that role. But the cantor does not usually stand alone on Kol Nidre night, but surrounded by fellow clergy and by leadership of our community who are each holding our sacred Torah scrolls. Tonight, Cantor Mutlu has to stand on that bima alone, but we wanted him to feel the support of our leadership, of those Torah scrolls, and all of you, symbolized by the presence of our president, Jeremy Fielding, our executive director, Marcia Caban, and the officers of this congregation. So through the magic of the movies, our leadership will be standing with our cantor and bring our Torahs back home as they have every Kol Nidre. And we will stand with you, Cantor Mutlu, as you carry the prayers of this congregation this evening. Please rise.
וכל עמי וכינויי וכינוסי
La
may be seated.
I can't start this sermon without first just saying that my breath is taken away by you, Cantor Mutlu. That was extraordinary. My heart is just beating from that prayer that was just exquisite. Thank you. Are you Jewish? Are you Jewish? Are you Jewish? Are you Jewish? The Lubavitchers parked their mitzvah tank at the corner of my college post office. Remember those? And posed this question repeatedly like a jingle to students passing by. In the early 90s, Yale was about 25% Jewish. So asking, "Are you Jewish?" was like shooting fish in a barrel. Most of my Jewish friends were accosted multiple times each day. But not one time in 4 years did they ever ask me. I would have liked some free Shabbat candles, or to sit in their makeshift sukkah, or to have been acknowledged even once as a member of the tribe. And the Orthodox weren't the only ones who didn't recognize me as Jewish. I led the Reform Minyan. I chanted Torah. I read the entire liturgy in Hebrew, all while wearing a tallis. But inevitably, someone would come up afterward and ask, "Are you Jewish?" I know what you're thinking. But Rabbi, surely you understand there's a Jewish look, and you don't exactly have it. Jews are a people with Jewish last names, Jewish features. We even have our own genetic diseases. Yes, I did understand what the Jewish community was telling me. That Jewish peoplehood was akin to a race, something immutable and hereditary, an exclusive club you had to be born into. And even though I had a Jewish father, with this face, I would never really be Jewish. Jewish peoplehood is powerful and real, but too often we misunderstand what that means. So tonight, I want to debunk some of the myths around Jewish peoplehood. Beginning with, first, we Jews are not a race. The earliest biblical reference to the Israelite people as a race is made by Pharaoh in Egypt. He used it to justify our enslavement and to kill our firstborn. He stoked racist fear that the Israelites would grow to outnumber Egyptians and rise up against them. Pharaoh's message to his subjects echoes through the centuries: Jews will not replace us. And the first historical articulation of Judaism as a race was during the Spanish Inquisition. And even those Jews who converted to Christianity were still considered to have polluted, impure Jewish bloodlines. And later, in an effort to dehumanize Jews, the Nazis used pseudoscience to claim that Jews had identifiable racial features and a genetic propensity towards certain behaviors and beliefs. The notion of Judaism as a race is a construct created by our enemies to justify anti-Semitism, violence, and even genocide. And yet, we Jews still cling to this idea of race, that there's a genetic blueprint, a look that makes us what we are. But that's another myth. Jewish peoplehood is not about a pure Jewish bloodline or survival of one strand of DNA. We Jews have never been just one color or one cluster of chromosomes. When the Torah first calls us a people coming out of Egypt, we are described as an Erev Rav, a mixed multitude. And when we were exiled from Jerusalem over 2,000 years ago, we spread out to every imaginable corner of the world. Jews went to India and Yemen, Russia, China, and Ethiopia. The majority of Jews in Israel today are not Ashkenazi, but Jews of color from Middle Eastern, African, and Asian countries. And in America, while many think of Jews as white people, even that assumption is outdated. In 2019, the first Jewish population study to measure Jews of color in America found that Jews of color represent at least 12 to 15% of American Jews, and it's only growing. That's a stunning statistic. It's about 1 in every 7 Jews. It means that out of approximately 7.5 million Jews of America, about 1 million are Jews of color. 1 million. Let me guess. You're thinking, I don't believe that. I don't see them anywhere in my Jewish community. And you're right. On this Yom Kippur, we should do some soul searching and ask why that is. After a black rabbinical student preached from Central's pulpit this summer, Robert, a black congregant in his 20s, had the courage to reach out and tell me about his experience here. He said that the first time he walked into Central, a security guard trailed him inside and watched him suspiciously. He almost didn't return after that. But he did. And while he loved coming to Shabbat services, back when you could actually, come to services, he said he faced questions from congregants every single week. What neighborhood are you from? Who are you here with? And the ubiquitous, are you Jewish? We might hear Robert's story and excuse our community response as awkward inquisitiveness, well-meaning curiosity. But just imagine that this was Robert's experience walking into, say, Bergdorf Goodman. He's regarded with suspicion the minute he walks in the door. And too many people asking, "Can I help you?" with the assumption that he does not really belong. Now, we would clearly see that as racism. But we don't see this behavior as racist when we do the exact same thing to him in synagogue, based on the color of his skin. I don't think it's overt racism that prompts a congregant to ask an Asian mother in our lobby if she is the babysitter, or to ask a black congregant to take their drink order at a bar mitzvah reception. But the impact of this is undeniable. Jews of color experience racism in our community. Now, if you look Jewish, you've never been asked these questions. They only get asked of strangers. And because Jews of color hear these questions every time we walk into a Jewish community, that's exactly how we feel. Like a perpetual stranger. It's exhausting. We are in the midst of a national discussion about race and racism in America that is long overdue. On this holiest day of atonement, there may be no more important accounting we each need to make than to examine our own racial assumptions and prejudices. The Jewish community needs to see the fight against racism in our country as our fight. But tonight, I focus on racism within our own Jewish community. Because as a rabbi, I have to clean my house first. and as one who thinks about Jewish survival far too much, I know if we don't fundamentally rethink our tribal, racial notion of Jewish peoplehood, we are sunk. The demographic trends are inevitable. We will lose future generations of Jews and their children and be the poorer for it. I remember a meeting with an interfaith couple before their wedding. The bride was a Southern-born Protestant who grew up going to church every Sunday. She was intrigued by Judaism and open to conversion. She asked her fiancé, "What does being Jewish mean to you?" He replied, "I'm not that religious. Judaism is more my culture and identity. It's the feeling that I can walk into a party and just pick out the Jews in the room." She looked at him, and so did his Asian rabbi. "So would you pick us out in the room?" I asked. That couple got married, but she never converted. Letting go of the idea of a Jewish race is difficult because there's a real comfort in expecting that we can pick out our own. And there's pride in feeling that there's something inherited, even divinely ordained, about Jewish chosenness. But making our identity a tribal race is not only exclusive, it's dangerous. Because, and here I want to debunk one final myth, race is not scientific. Geneticists and anthropologists agree that race is a man-made invention with no real basis in science or biology. Further, anthropologist Ashley Montagu writes, "The idea of race was the deliberate creation of an exploiting class seeking to maintain and defend its privileges." Or as Ta-Nehisi Coates bluntly says, race is the child of racism, not the father. Now, this idea is brilliantly fleshed out in Isabel Wilkerson's groundbreaking new book, Caste. She convincingly shows how race has been manipulated to create hierarchies of human value, to assert the supremacy of one race over another. Whether it was blacks in America, untouchables in India, or Jews in Nazi Germany. The pillars of caste systems were remarkably similar across time and geography. For example, did you know that when Hitler created his caste system in order to exterminate the so-called Jewish race, the Third Reich actually studied America's race laws for ideas? Yale law professor James Whitman wrote that in the 1930s, the United States was, quote, "the leading racist jurisdiction in the world." Nazi lawyers, as a result, looked very closely at and were ultimately influenced by American race law, end quote. In particular, Nazis admired the Jim Crow era laws that discriminated and segregated Black Americans from white Americans. They adopted America's anti-miscegenation laws prohibiting interracial marriage also. But banning Jewish and Aryan marriages posed a special problem for the Nazis because at the time, intermarriage rates were already over 60%. And with interracial children, it was hard to define who was Jewish and who was not. So the Nazis again borrowed from the American obsession with categorizing race by fractions of perceived ancestry. In 1890, the United States Census included racial categories for those who were a quarter Black, a quadroon, or even an eighth Black, octoroon. You could be 1/16 Black with a drop of Negro blood, and you were considered Black. As I said, race is not scientific. Germany's Nuremberg laws ultimately defined a Jew as anyone with at least one Jewish grandparent, regardless of religious practice. For the Nazis, even conversion to Christianity couldn't overcome Jewish ancestry. Through these laws, the Nazis established a caste system that put Jews at the very bottom, as Untermenschen, subhuman. This dehumanizing view of Jews was critical in enabling the Nazis to persuade Germany and much of Europe to participate in or stand by and watch the murder of 6 million Jews by the end of the war. It was a caste system the Nazis created in great part by studying the legal caste system we created for Black Americans. Now, after World War II, when the State of Israel was founded with a mission to take in Jewish refugees, Israel, incredibly, adopted the Nazis' one-quarter Jewish ancestry definition as the foundation for defining who was eligible for the law of return. I was taught the reasoning was, if it's enough Jewish blood to get you killed, it would be enough Jewish blood to get you saved. But why did we allow a racial definition imposed by our enemies to become our benchmark for who is a Jew? Yes, heredity is important and meaningful. It's powerful to imagine an ancestral line of Jews that goes all the way back to Sinai. But it is time to stop thinking of Jewish peoplehood as a race once and for all. Instead, think of us as a family. You can become family by birth, adoption, and choice. You can create a bond stronger than blood through covenant, as we do in marriage. The Jewish Brit, our covenant with God, is how we all became family. Because the foundation of Jewish peoplehood doesn't come from myths about race, but from our covenant with God. Tomorrow we'll read about this Brit in our Torah portion. Listen to who is included. Atem nitzavim kulchem. You stand, all of you, before God. Leaders and laborers, grown-ups and children, the stranger and convert, into this sworn covenant I make with you today. Instead of defining Jewishness by having the correct fraction of Jewish blood, let every Jew who feels bound by this covenant be seen and counted equally as part of the Jewish people, just as God does. A few years ago, I was walking on the Upper West Side on Broadway, and there was a mitzvah tank parked on the corner. I saw a boy, not yet bar mitzvah age, in a black hat and suit. But as I hurried past, he stepped right in front of me, looked me straight in the eye, and asked, "Are you Jewish?" I stopped in my tracks. He was seriously asking me. I had to hold myself back from my enormous urge to embrace the boy. "Yes," I said excitedly. "Yes, I am Jewish. Thank you very much." The young boy, confused by my passionate response, shrugged his shoulders and offered me a box of candles. "Happy Hanukkah," he said, and walked away. The boy thought nothing of it, but I've replayed that moment many times since. It was my Hanukkah miracle. He gave me a taste of a Jewish peoplehood that was beyond race, where the color of my skin, the shape of my features, were no longer the markers of my belonging. or authenticity. In that young Chassid's question was a revolutionary assumption, one that could truly change the world, that he could see me and imagine me as part of the same family.
Rabbi Buchtal, if this was not a pandemic, we'd be embracing you right now, thanking you for your most beautiful and moving and powerful sermon. And I know I'm one of so many, all of us in this community that is so happy to be able to say that we are in the same family with you. Yasher koach.
Thank you so much.
We turn now to page 106, and Avinu Malkeinu, please rise. We're honored to have some of our dear members via video read the English translation of this sacred prayer.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have sinned against you.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our children.
Avinu Malkeinu, make an end to sickness, war, and famine.
Avinu Malkeinu, make an end to all oppression.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us for blessing in the book of life.
Avinu Malkeinu, let the new year be a good year for us.
Avinu Malkeinu, fill our hands with blessing.
Avinu Malkeinu, be gracious and answer us, for we have little merit. Treat us generously and with kindness, and be our help.
Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu,
we continue with Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר ראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל
Please be seated. It's now my honor to welcome forward our synagogue president, Jeremy Fielding. Jeremy, we can only begin to thank you for your tireless devotion and extraordinary leadership of our shul, and we are so glad to be in the synagogue with you this Kol Nidre evening.
Good evening. This past year, all of us have been acutely aware of having to face new challenges, and doing so by drawing strength from the past. For me, that has meant thinking a lot about my Nana. Anne Schulman was a 21-year-old Londoner when World War II broke out. Britain declared war on Nazi Germany on September 1st, 1939. 3 days later, she and Sid, Papa, got married. He was duly enlisted in the Royal Air Force and sent to the Mediterranean. So when the Blitz started, here was this newlywed who every evening for 8 months and 5 days grabbed some belongings to make a bed, descended into the subway, slept on a platform through the bombs dropping, and then every morning had to come out and survey the damage, not knowing whether her homes and possessions had been obliterated in the night. And the bombers came back the next night, and the next, and the next. After a time in 1941, it was clear the worst was past. And yet, then there was a second wave for 4 months in 1944. Nana continued with life after the war, got back to a normal. The Nana I knew many years later laughed, hugged, ate too slowly for the rest of her family, absolutely burnt to a cinder a leg of lamb for Sunday lunch. It was Britain in the 70s. But as we went through this past spring, one question kept coming up for me to which I will never know the answer. To what or whom did Nana hold on to for support in those lonely, isolating, and trying times? Friends, family, her community? In recent months, we've each had to find answers for ourselves to that very same question. Standing here in this physical and virtual sanctuary, I'd like to think about the role that this community has played for all of us over these past months. For sure, I don't want to gloss over the joyous times we had when we were all physically together. The 180th celebration at Carnegie Hall, the second annual Shabbat is Central, the smiling faces of our LCLJ religious school students as they created projects that demonstrated their Jewish learning in action. But it's when the chips are down that we ask more of our institutions. And Central Synagogue, its clergy, professional team, and its members rose to meet that challenge. We saw it with our online weekly worship, engaging literally tens of thousands of Shabbat goers from all over the city, country, and the world, as well as our Zoom Seder and Life Cycle events. Our virtual programming, allowing us to connect with even more congregants than would have joined us in person. And we formed a 65-person task force in the early days of the isolating stay-at-home period to call every member and ensure they were in good health and had everything they needed. We were an anchor for our members and for the wider Jewish community, for the unsynagogued, those Jews literally around the world who needed weekly bursts of reassurance, hope, brightness. When we needed our synagogue, it was there. And now the synagogue needs you and your support. Let me return to wartime Britain for a moment. The synagogue in which I grew up, West London Synagogue, has a beautiful sanctuary. In its prayer book is a depiction of the same building from the early 20th century, before the war. The picture on the page showed a roof that was magnificent in detail. It was certainly very different from the starkly plain painted roof that, when attending excruciatingly long Yom Kippur afternoon services, I may or may not have stared up at for way too long. I would wonder why someone had painted over such gorgeous and intricate decorations. Well, apparently, during the Blitz, the sanctuary and a good chunk of the roof was damaged. After the war, the community decided that, in light of the economic difficulties of the nation, the money needed to be spent on other things. And so a plain coat of paint was applied to the repaired roof as it remains today. That can be done to a building, to bricks, mortar, and plaster. But when it comes to the things our members need from us, programming, worship, education, pastoral care, and everything else we provide our community, well, these things can get the equivalent of a quick coat of paint, but I would submit doing just that is not who we are. We rightly expect and want those things to be deeply meaningful, engaging, connecting. We know instinctively they need to be, and to do them right, we need to have the resources. From every president who has stood before you, you've heard that our Yom Kippur appeal accounts for approximately 1/3 of our operating budget. That's true this year too, at a time when so many other areas of our budget are pressured and stressed. Your support is crucial. It enables literally everything about our congregation to keep running, including tonight's service, as well as countless other moments where we make Reform Judaism matter despite the challenges of distance. So please consider giving to Central. I know that this year, of all years, I'm asking a lot, but this year, of all years, I need to ask. We appreciate and cherish every single gift of whatever size, as it enables us to be there for all of our congregants and our broader community. So tonight, I'm asking our members, our guests, and those who only join us online, thank you in advance for doing so, and thank you too if this year you consider increasing your commitment to us. I'm proud and hugely appreciative to share that for the first time in recent memory, as we enter this Yom Kippur holiday, all of our trustees have already made their commitments, and 3/4 of them have pledged a more generous gift. Allow me, please, to end on a personal note. This is my final year as president of our congregation. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your support. I want to apologize for any time I've inadvertently forgotten your name or been tardy in responding to your email. And I want to express my deep gratitude for allowing me to be a steward for this remarkable congregation as we go from strength to strength, stand as a true sanctuary in these troubling times, and a shining light for the world around us. Gemar Chatima Tova. May you and yours be inscribed for a good and healthy and safe new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Jeremy, we are so grateful to you. A few brief announcements before we continue with Mourner's Kaddish and our closing song. Our Yom Kippur worship continues tomorrow morning at 10:30. There will also be an early Tot service at 9:15 a.m. and a family service at 2 p.m. And please note that these two services, the Tot and the family services, will not be on JBS, and you can live stream them off our website as well as Facebook Live, our Central Synagogue Facebook page. Our Yom Kippur afternoon service commences at 3:30 in the afternoon tomorrow and will feature some creative additions, including original music and dance. Yes, I said dance.
You don't want to miss it, Rabbi Saul. Just let everybody know you don't want to miss it. It's so incredible.
Who could want to miss that? I'm very much looking forward, as are all of us, to being together with you during this most unique set of services to help us observe this sacred Yom Kippur holiday. And Rabbi Buchtel, I want to ask you to share with us a little bit more of what's happening during the time in between the morning and the afternoon service for our members.
Well, we absolutely love the fact that we have been able to share in our services with this worldwide extended Jewish community all around the world. But in this unusual year where our own members do not always get to see each other, we do have some special smaller group programming that's happening on Yom Kippur afternoon for our members and guests. And you can look on the website for that, and access to that is on your ticket. Those are in Zoom, so you'll actually be able to see fellow members of your congregation for some special programming. I want to draw your attention to two out of many really wonderful options. One is that there will be a panel at 1 o'clock of Jews of color from our own community sharing some of their stories, and it's a follow-up to this sermon I gave tonight, but also very powerful to hear from members of our own community, and also to see a few vignettes from a theatrical production called True Colors, which shares the stories of actors presenting the words of Jews. And so I think it's a remarkable program. I hope you'll join for that. And at 2:45, we will have the honor of learning with Rabbi Rick Jacobs, the president of the Reform Movement, who will be teaching us as well. All of these programs, while they're for our members, because we want them to be able to interact in a smaller way, we will put all of them online after the holiday for anyone to be able to access and watch, and we hope that you'll join us that way as well.
Thank you, Rabbi Buchtel. Those promise to be exceptional programs. Just to be clear, everyone can watch the dancing, though, right, at 3:30?
Oh, yes. Everyone should watch the dancing.
Yes.
And I literally got tears in my eyes when I watched the rehearsal this week. So please don't miss the afternoon service, which has many special surprises in store.
Absolutely. We now turn to page 108 for this poem before the recitation of Mourner's Kaddish. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life a journey, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. We remember our dearest ones and keep them close to our hearts as we say Zichronam Livracha. Their memory will always be a blessing to us. Please rise, Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yikadash Shemei Rabbah, Bi'alma divrach ute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayachon u'v'yomachon u'v'chayed chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'zman kariv yimru. Amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam umei almaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kudsha brichu le'ela u'kol v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiram b'yalma v'yimru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen.
I love the chord that ends on that. It really brings a sense of hopefulness, and that's the way we'd like to end our service. We end with Adon Olam on page 110. We hope that you will join with us in closing out this sacred evening. Adon Olam Asher Malach בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להחמירה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, בלא העוז והמזרח. והוא אלי וחי גלי, את צור חמלי ואת שרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא. בידו אפקיד רוחי, בעת אישן בהעירה, ועם רוחי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא.
the great rabbi of the 2nd century, Rabbi Judah, inspires us to believe, Kol Yisrael Aravim Zeh B'Zeh, all Israel is connected to and responsible for each other. For we Jews form a single entity, Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people, the Jewish family, and together without regard to race or color or birthplace or DNA, we, all of us, together share a common destiny and a history to which we have all linked ourselves. So God, this we pray. You have given us the sacred and solemn mandate to be a beacon to humanity, a light to the nations, but let us first find room in our own hearts for each other. Let us embody inclusion rather than xenophobia, and hope rather than despair. Let us inspire this nation and welcome the stranger into our midst. May the decency of our people's spirit flow forth as cascading waters, prodding us always to pursue justice and peace for the good of our people and for the good of all humankind. For this you have given us the gift of Torah, and for this you have birthed us into existence. So let us get on with it and make it so with your help. And may we, O God, be sealed for a good year in the book of life. Adonai, lanu v'lo nira, God, you are with us, and we shall not be afraid. Amen.